All right, welcome everybody. We want to give people a few minutes to join the session. So before we get started, why doesn't everybody put into the chat window where you're joining us from in the world? So we can see who's here and where you're coming from. That's always fun. I'm going to start it off. I am from Sanford, Michigan, where it is on its way up to 60 degrees today, hopefully. We got a few people still joining. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. Welcome to this community conversation hosted by your Autodesk community. My name is Chris, and I will be your host today. It's my pleasure to welcome Johnson, Dan, and Chris, who will be taking all of your Inventor questions today. So just a bit about this series for those joining us for the first time. Community conversations bring you together with experts from around the community, both inside and outside of Autodesk, on a variety of topics. Sessions can be tips and tricks, workflow demonstrations, or question and answer sessions like this one's going to be. To keep up on upcoming conversations, check the link I'm placing in the chat and bookmark it to see when new sessions are added to the calendar. So I'm going to drop that in there right now. A second to copy and paste this link. And there you have it. In these sessions, you may occasionally hear some forward-looking statements about our products, but we want to say up front, please do not consider these to be a guarantee of anything, but rather look at the current state of the product as it is today when making any purchasing decisions. So we just want to make that very clear up in the front. Before I hand it over to our experts, all lines should be muted to reduce background noise, but we do want this to be a conversation. So if you have a question or a comment, please use either the raise hand tool on your Zoom toolbar or type your question in the chat. We're going to be keeping an eye on these throughout the session, but sometimes these things move pretty fast, so don't be offended if we don't get to every question before the end of the hour. You may continue the conversation on the session site afterward by using the comment section on the page for this conversation. I'll be sharing that link a little bit later on in the session. We are also recording this, and a copy of the recording will be provided shortly after we finish up here today. So that's enough from me for now. I'll be back later to share some more resources and links and information before we close out the session. For now, let me hand it over to our power trio. Guys, why don't you each do a quick introduction and then take it from there. Johnson?
Hello, this is Johnson Shui. I'm the most senior QA member on Inventor team. Nice to meet you. Dan?
Hey everyone, welcome Dan Szymanski, product manager for Inventor. Been with Autodesk for 21 years. All spent, started off earning my stripes in support, moving into QA, a large number, and then the last 10 or so years been working in quality engagement and now product manager for the product. Chris.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Mitchell. I've been at Autodesk 16 years. Vast majority of that time has been working on Inventor, whether it be experience design, QA, or most recently customer engagement. And I currently run the alpha beta program for Inventor to collect a lot of feedback and hopefully help to improve the product. So it's good to see everybody today.
Cool. Do we have any questions?
I see a lot of familiar names in here. I see the Hilvers brothers are with us, Mike and Steve. Hello, guys.
Hello, guys. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, thank you, Ed. You're more than welcome. Thank you, Gabriel.
Yep. Hi, Gabriel.
Yep.
So while we're waiting for a few questions, I can mention a couple of things that are upcoming for Inventor. It's pretty typical at this time of the year that we release our next major version. So it's no secret we're working on Inventor 2023 right now. It's in the very final stages of test and release. So within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'll say, you should see Inventor 2023 start to be released. And we're also just about to start beta testing for Inventor 2022.3, which is the next major point update for the 2022 release. And Sean just mentioned there, if anybody's interested in doing any pre-release testing, beta activities, then the feedback.autodesk.com is the place to go. I'll type in a specific link in a minute so that people can get direct access to the Inventor beta project. So yeah, there'll be lots of activity here in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks for Inventor.
So we got a question from Michael. Okay, so when using routed system, the routed components do not include a part number embedded in the content center family. Is there a fix or workaround? Hey, Dan, I thought there's an option in the file naming
Yes.
option, right? Yes.
There's an application options. Yeah, you can instantiate on instantiation. You can assign prefix or suffixes to include part number, different values and parameters that you might choose. There's a long list of choices you can pre-configure. So yeah, it does require a little bit of configuration on your front, but you should be able to instantiate any conduit or component and place it with a prefix or suffix, depending upon your company's practices or workflow needs. But yeah, it's not, to your point though, I mean, I believe you might be able to also, well, you mentioned that in the content center family, you can customize and publish your families to an extent, but I think it might be limited with respect to your modification, because I mean, a part number is going to change, right? And that's why the instantiation method that we do, it allows you to incrementally number them or specify the numbers that you want to associate to on instantiation.
Dan?
But it's got some pretty complex, you can get really, it's pretty flexible to what you should be able to do. So I think we do have a solution for you there.
We haven't found a way to work around it yet. I mean, we're basically using routed systems for running wires and cables in our substations. Obviously, a certain size cable has a part number. And basically for our parts list, we needed to add all of it together. For whatever reason, right now, our part numbers come in blank, even though all the different size part numbers are set up in the content center family. The stock number, which is what we use to order the material, that comes in fine, but we have to manually go in and add the part number to all of our routes right now.
This has always been something that's been true with tube and pipe, is that even if the part number column in the content center is filled in, if you place that fitting or piece of pipe manually, like place from content center, the part number I property populates. But if it comes in through routed systems, it has never populated that I property.
Yeah, exactly.
I always used a workaround. I always used a workaround in my BOMs where I added a different column to my content center family using an I property that I wasn't using for anything else, such as, I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but I would grab an unused field, add that to my family center, put my part number in there, and then add that to my BOM. So all I had to do then was just copy and paste the column over to part number. It was still an extra step, but it got the part number into the column where it belonged.
Yeah, our workaround is basically to insert a 1 foot length of the same size cable and then just copy that. Because like you said, as soon as you insert it from content center, the field populates perfectly.
Yes.
It's just the things that are generated by routed systems,
they do not populate.
No, comes in blank.
Yep.
And Michael, what Inventor release are you on right now?
I'm using 2022 here at home, but I mean, we're using 2020 in work right now. We haven't upgraded yet.
Yeah, I think then maybe we want to follow up with Michael offline. I think
the catch that you mentioned was the cable and harness. The file naming defaults that we introduced were for tube and pipe.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at, should I share my screen? Is it okay to share my screen or no? Would that be valuable for anybody else? Just to see?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah. Just go underneath application options. on the file, and then there's this file naming defaults down here. And this is where you can specify the naming conventions for frame generator, tube, and pipe. So that's essentially the piece. But you were saying that, okay.
Yeah, for tube and pipe. Now we wanted to
Yeah.
actually read the part number.
Got it. Got it.
And I've been playing around with it. I've been using Inventor since it, I guess 99, first release, second release. I've never found a way to get around it. Like I said, we typically just insert a piece of pipe from the, from Content Center, and that allows us to copy the part number over. All the other fields populate fine. It's just the part number field.
Yeah, Michael, we're going to follow you offline, and then I at least kind of understand the issue. I think I remember this. This is a limitation for now.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and yeah,
I posted this before on the forums.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a new issue. Yeah, but yeah, we don't have a good solution right now, except the workaround you mentioned. Yeah. Yep. It is not ideal. Absolutely. Yeah, I think we should do better. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you are more than welcome, Michael. Yeah. Next question from Gabriel. Any plans to bring Revit, Fusion, and Inventor to a more common ground for users? I get that Fusion is the future. However, it brings us closer to transition if we have ways to communicate those three better. So, I mean, in terms of the CAD program itself, I don't think there's a near-term, I mean, then correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's a near-term solution to kind of combine those CADs. I mean, technically, it's really hard, but we are indeed building a neutral data layer. So multiple Autodesk product can access. So by that way, since the data is more like a neutral layer, and then each CAD application will be able to utilize whatever properties or whatever objects they're interested. So that's the direction we are headed, and that can definitely help mitigate the data hostage issue right now. So but when it will be realized, we don't know. I don't have a firm time frame, but we are indeed working on a solution.
Yeah, the pandemic brought that to light, right? The need to collaborate and to share and to just work together, definitely. So there's definitely conversations, and as Johnson said, that is an approach that we're looking at.
Okay, next question from Jeff. As I asked on the forum as a follow-up on the announcement today's session, could you please elaborate on how to bring the result of a dynamic simulation to Inventor Nastran? Then, I mean, I'm not aware of a workflow to do that though. I think there's a way to bring it to Inventor stress analysis, particularly, but
yeah,
I'm not. I'm sorry. Yeah, Chris,
if you do
please.
a dynamic simulation, you can get the say the peak acceleration loads as a result of that simulation. There's a right-click option to send those results to Inventor simulation, but I'm not aware that work was ever done to send it to Inventor Nastran. So it would be a manual operation to collect all those peak loads from acceleration or deceleration, and reuse those in Inventor Nastran. But depending what sort of simulation you're actually doing, you might be able to achieve the results in just a standard Inventor simulation, if it's a sort of linear static type analysis.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is the wish to be able to do a non-linear.
Yeah, okay. If it's non-linear, then you do need to go to Inventor Nastran. So it would be a fortunately case of manually collecting all those results of interest and then repurposing them in Nastran.
That is what needs to be done. I was just wondering if there is a way to, like for the stress analysis, to be able to take the results from the dynamic simulation and use them in a non-linear simulation in Inventor Nastran.
Yeah, not automatically, unfortunately.
No. Okay, so next question came from Brian. Hi, hello, Brian. The thread table. Holes in die casting will have draft that look like taper to the thread table. I need a way to allow straight threads on a taper hole. I attempted to make a new tab in the table, but it hasn't been reliable. Yeah, this one is about how to configure the thread table. I will need to take a closer look because I don't think there's a easy way to do that. So it sounded like you already found a workaround, but it doesn't seem to work well. Yeah. So Brian, if possible, could you send me like an example of a customized thread table so I can kind of understand the behavior better? Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. I'll put one together for you. I can send you what I made up. Yeah, I do a lot of die castings, and you know, anytime you put a hole in it, like a core pin or something, I'd always end up with draft. And what I've been finding as I've been looking at other people's stuff is, you know, and internally as I've been working on some things, like, well, the thread ends up being an MPT, but it's really MPSM or something. On top of that, there wasn't an MPSM thread in the table to begin with, so I kind of created it for a couple of reasons. So so yeah, you're just going to drive a thread tap through a tapered hole to get a straight thread. You know, we do that all the time.
So Brian, based on your comments, would it be correct to assume that you're looking for more common threads?
Yeah,
on the table?
I mean, I'd love to, really what I'd love to see is, and I posted this a while back, perhaps, you know, several years ago, is NACA, North American Die Caster Association standards for cord holes. So the hole will have a little bit of draft to it, a few thousandths of draft over a distance. Let's say a number 10 screw will be 0.169 at the bottom and 0.175 at the opening or something like that. About, you know, I think it's like 0.6 of an inch deep or something. It depends on what your application is. And you don't have anything like that right now in the whole table or the thread table or anything like that. That'd be a great add, is just pull that stuff out of NACA standard. They have pages of that kind of thing. So that would be helpful too. But on top of that is, you know, sometimes we have pipe thread into castings and things like that, and there's not a clean single feature way to get there right now. You'd have to take the tapered thread or the tapered hole with a little bit of draft on it as cast, put a extrude cut through it to straighten it out, then apply a hole. You know, it's kind of kludgy. So
yeah, got it. So I think it's essentially asking for more commonly used thread table. Yeah,
you need a way to force a straight cut, you know, tap operation or die operation on a tapered shape. It's very valid in the real world.
Yeah. Hey Dan, is this something on our radar?
No, it's not. It's not actually. I was kind of curious to hear that standard. We're always looking at standards compliance and trying to get, you know, because again, we talk about standards compliance. It deals with content library components, thread XLS, the data we derive out of the threads, as well as the 2D annotation types and styles and standards, of course. So you mentioned the NACA standard. Is that what you mentioned? Could you share the spec of what that whole type is? That'd be valuable.
Yeah, I was trying to get my camera to work, but I have a book here, NADCA. You should be able to Google that, and it's the North American Die Casting Association. And they have a, you know, like a lot of these, you know, sand casting, die casting type people, they have a big book that is tolerancing standards and things like that they publish for, you know, best practices. So
cool. No, thank you. That'd be great.
Yeah, this book's about an inch thick. So it's parting line draft and all kinds of crazy, surface stuff. But there's several sections where typically I'll use the precision cord hole, but they also have other things in there too that might apply to those tables. So there's standard and precision tolerancing and stuff like that. So
yeah, we have heard requests for complex holes. That is to create, countersink with counterbore with threads, those types of things, but not that's the first I've heard of this one. So
yeah, all our die castings use pretty much the precision thread table in this document, and so I end up having to do a revolve with the shape I want and put those in and pattern those around. So it's a little bit of work. I can crank it out because I've been doing it for 15, 20 years in Inventor, but it's be nice to just plop it in with a center point.
sure, thanks.
Thank you.
And just a note, Chris Benner, anybody who joined after isn't going to have access to the links that you've shared previously. So you might want to, at some point, just share all those links again toward the end. I just noticed that. I'm like, yeah, people joining, you're not seeing all the previous links.
Right, absolutely. And we'll compile those as well and send them out to everybody who participated.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, there are comments from Jap and Michael saying because of the governmental works, they cannot utilize a cloud-based solution. And then at the moment, I mean, I don't think we are pursuing or pushing Inventor users to adopt cloud technology. That's just not the direction we are headed. Inventor is a desktop-based product, and it will stay as desktop for a long while. So I don't think you will be forced to use any cloud technology if you are not allowed to. And Gabriel is asking if we are adding the exploded function to IPN. Yeah, it's been requested for, I would say, at least 4 or 5 years ever since we redo IPN. I think in 2019. Yeah, so far we haven't found a good solution yet, but hey Dan, can you comment on that? Is that on the radar?
We're aware of the ask. We just need to, we've got a prioritization method that just tries to get the justification for it. Yeah, we are aware of it, but it's not, you're asking for plans near term, not on the near term roadmap. If that's as vague as I can be. But no, the roadmap always changes, of course, as everyone knows, and we can reprioritize and take a look at things. We try to talk about near term in the sense of our dot releases that we deliver in the summer and the fall, which does include additional functionality, and then longer term, of course, is just the breadth of what we may be able to do and enhance the product over a longer term. So definitely aware of it. It's on our radar, but not near term.
Okay, a question from Gillum. We're using VBA to develop some specific macro and mainly use it for as a user form. And switching to ILogic isn't easy because of probably the limited functionality compared to VBA. Do you expect to enhance it? Yeah, I think ILogic is absolutely there are a lot of requests for iLogic, yeah, and then it needs to be prioritized, that sort of thing. But I mean, can you articulate what exactly is missing and what are you looking for in iLogic to do? Gillum, do you mind speaking up? Is Gillum still online? Or maybe not. Okay. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Just let's say that we are using VBA to develop some user form to make it easy for my users to modify a lot of things, and we can include some external DLL as reference or things like this to make it easy to show, for example, a PDF directly in the form, or look for specific files and things like this. ILogic today is great because you can access many things directly, but it's not so easy to use to make complex form, let's say.
Yeah, VBA is still available though. Although Microsoft stopped supporting it, but we still make the download available, and like you can still download the one for 2022 and 2021, right? Yeah, so it's still there. It will work, but it does have a little bit security concern, right? And that's the reason why Microsoft abandoned it, and that's why we sort of stop shipping and install by default based on Microsoft decision. So it will still run. It will still run, but how long would it run? How long would Microsoft support? That's not something we can predict. So yeah, but I see your point. I see, because what if VBA is totally kind of blocked by Windows? I mean, I'm just assuming that could be one of the results. And then what are the options? So I personally feel like we got to provide a better solution to if that does happen, and we got to make sure whatever is doable on VBA will be doable on ILogic or similar technology.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to post your request. I mean, directly to Dan, Chris, and I, or post it on the forum and ideas forum.
I think there are already some requests regarding this.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's one from Gabriel. So helicoil tables to thread XML would be a nice addition. I have added to my previous team's design data, but I see others in the forum asking for it. The problem is that some of those bring issues to our current hole feature in Inventor. The fact that the pull-down pick menus at the top do not drive all the dimensions for thread and hole depth, then sometimes they should fix those automatically. Gabriel, if I understood the issue correctly, it probably has something to do with kind of like a dialogue population behavior in the whole dialogue. Because I mean, sometimes it gets really complicated though. So for example, you switch from a spec hole where you grab the data from a table, and then it does have a preset depth, and then you switch to another non-spec hole or a different type of hole, and then it can get out of sync. I think I understood what you were talking about. Yeah, it gets a little bit tricky. Yeah, so do you want to comment further, Gabriel?
Hey, Johnson, nice to see you. And yeah, I basically, it's a little complicated. It's just something that when I introduced this new table, I had to use some of the columns that we have on the XML. We had to configure those as almost like a tooltip to tell the user what type of countersink and angle and everything they should fill on the fields below. But that becomes really up to the designer to comply. And I'd like to have something more foolproof that, you know, some of the countersink or angle or depth would be fixed depending on the table you're picking. So maybe from the Excel sheet, maybe there was a way to flag a few columns as key columns that may be able to lock those dimensions in the whole feature. It's just an idea that, you know, came up because it was really hard. I had to poke around with some of the columns and see which ones we could use, kind of cheat around to use them as tooltips and write them in a way that the user would read them and get the hint of what they needed to fill out under.
Yeah, Gabriel, it sounded, I mean, just my speculation right now, it sounded like a limitation in the dialogue, or it's a bug. So I mean, if possible, you got my email address. Yeah, send me an example and your customized table, and then show me the workflow. I can follow up with the project team and figure out whether or not it's we can change it easily, or and at least why it behave this way. So
Yeah, thank you.
oh, you're more than welcome, Gabriel.
I'm kind of curious on the question on the helicoils. Is there a certain vendor that you always stick to and use consistently? Because I know there's multiple manufacturers of or providers of those.
Right. It's I think a helicoil is the brand, and we just picked a table that we could trust from a vendor. And I think you know, there was a huge issue because sometimes, you know, the easy fasteners or thread, those are so well used by the industry that you don't really run into issues. But the devil lies in the details. When you do have a table, that table is really important. Like helicoils, you have to either have a supplier install them for you, or you install them in-house. So there is a discussion on that. And then we decided, okay, we're setting this up. We need to set everything up in the drawing. So all the details, every information should be there. They're gonna drill on the supplier side, and then we're gonna apply the helicoil threads in our shop. So when we decided to do that, we're trying to get the Inventor users turned to the right direction and know how to apply the whole feature. But again, it's hard to find a tooltip. It's not really a bug here. It's more about lack of functionality that would really focus the user on what they needed to do.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, so the next question came from Nigel. So this is about the view cube orientation. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of manufacturers they like to orient their Z direction pointing up, but Inventor tried. I think most of the templates are having a Y up. Yeah, so it was a design decision, but yeah, I do. There's a workflow to change that orientation, but it does require a few steps. And I noticed that Fusion 360 does have a very neat workflow, just basically reset to Z up. Yeah, I think that's something we can consider. You know, I don't know how much effort required to do that, but it's definitely something worth looking into. Then are you aware of the request? The
Yeah.
Z up, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I got distracted by Brian's post. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. I mean, just on top of your head, do you remember we got a story in the backlog, or
yes,
no?
yes,
Oh, okay,
there
good.
is. There is one for configuring that to be more. Yeah, there's a couple actually.
Yeah, more like a one button solution, right? Because right now it does require like a good 5-6 steps just to set it up correctly.
Sure.
Yeah, but people are looking for, hey, just click it and then orient my Z to top. Yeah, I think that's what is
Do you
being asked.
have any idea when that will be available? I got a crew of 30 people rebuilding 6,000 library parts because they now want Z up on everything.
I see.
And also, excuse me, hi, this is Nigel.
Nigel, yes.
When you do this fix, will you be considering the behavior of Inventor itself? Because we know in fix and we can reorient our model to have a Z up, but Inventor will still behave as a Y up, even though you've forced your model to be a Z up. So little things like rotation will still flip it back down 90 degrees when you have to rotate back.
I see. Nigel, I think you're talking about another behavior kind of related, is when you don't have any visible planar geometry to pick, and then you start a new sketch, and then we will already automatically put you in a Y-up home view, and then make the origin planes visible. And I think that behavior is also troublesome, and quite a few forum users are complaining about it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm confused. I mean, this happens in my models that have existing geometry where we've rotated our Z up, and then we'll open that model and it'll just force back to a Y up, where we have to then force back to a Z up ourselves. You know, there's a little bit of confusion as to what is happening. So, you know, I think if you're working on something, consider the other outer options as well.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I suspect when you open up a part or assembly, it kind of revert back to YUP. It's probably the home view wasn't redefined, because by default, Inventor open IPT-IAM file and put you in a document home view. So it whatever stored in as the home view orientation is gonna revert back. So unless it was reset, but I get your point though. Because it's just so painful, right? It's required multiple steps, and if you somehow miss one step, it's not oriented correctly. And then there are other workflow, like I mentioned, if you start a new sketch and it will reorient to a YUP bias home view. So yeah, there are issues. There yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, you're more than welcome. The next question is also from Nigel. Will there be any upgrade to the parameter window to allow us to organize and work more efficiently? That I'm not sure, but I think you could utilize, if you like customize parameter workflows, you could use ILogic. I mean, is that not a solution, Nigel?
No, I think it's more to do with the actual feature that we have, the parameter window itself. We can bring up the parameter window. And for example, we can't model with the window open. There's this constant flicking backwards and forwards to model, open parameter window, do a parameter change, close parameter window, continue model, and so forth and so on. And also, there's a lot of organization that is required as well. We like to keep our parameters that we use or that have user input to the top, and the other parameters that are not specifically for user input at the bottom. But we don't get the opportunity really to put all of that foresight to put all of our parameters in before we do any modeling. So the parameters are a hybrid of preset and then creation whilst we're modeling. And then that sort of gives us a disorganized list that we cannot adjust. We cannot export it. And I did look at exporting and organizing in Excel and bringing it back, but it doesn't allow that. So, this is a parameter-driven application, and yet the parameter function is quite archaic and complicated to operate. I would like to see it more fluid and maybe up to date, where we can work in synergy with it rather than one or the other. We're doing modeling or parameters. We need to do modeling and parameters at the same time.
See, I got it. Yeah, I think some of our competitors do have some interesting workflows there. But Nigel, have you submitted ideas to Ideas Forum?
I have.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I think the idea there is to keep the parameter dialog open and functional all the time. You can put it on a separate screen. So whether and when we would do that, I don't know, but that seems like something that's relatively easy to do.
Kind of like a property panel, right? So it's always there, and then you can manage parameters at the same time you're designing, as opposed to a secondary process, right?
We've had some discussions about being modeless, being that property panel, but the concerns come in with every time you're poking a change, you should then recompute. There's some different, we just did with the development, we've had some conversations around that piece. It is discussed, and we are aware of that one as well. To Nigel's point, I believe there is an idea station post about designing the whole redesigning or reconfiguring the parameters, kind of overhauling the parameters look and feel for adding groups and different. One problem with that idea, there's one idea that's in the top 25, I believe. One problem with that idea is that it has like 10 or 15 ideas within itself. So there's a high probability that we'll never be able to solve all 15 of those requirements, but there's a good chance we could probably make some improvements within a small subset of those. But yeah, we're aware of a couple of those as well. And then again, I know Chris Mitchell shared the link to the Inventor beta for taking a look at the alpha builds that we're doing. Just encourage you to take a look at some of the stuff that's right around the corner. don't want to say any more than that.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
You're very welcome. So a question from Anthony. So it's about how to, if we are going to support assembly constraint concept or workflow within a multi-solid body part. That's quite a drastic change, to be honest. I am not aware of such a plan to do that. Yeah, because Inventor, Inventor as a CAD product is a distributed design. So essentially, the geometry it's mostly located within IPT files, and then assembly is more like a aggregator or a wrapper. So you got those geometry, and then you can constrain them. You can put the geometry or the component wherever you like it. Yeah, so we sort of kind of divide the paradigms and do it that way, and that's quite fundamental. So I'm not aware of a plan. But on the other hand, actually Fusion 360 does offer that workflow though. So I mean, like I said repeatedly, even on the forum, Fusion has a more flexible way of designing. You can essentially design everything within one document, and then you can have components and nested components within, or you can just do it like Inventor way. You have all the external parts. So yeah, I mean, I think that might be a workflow to consider.
Can I answer on that?
Yes, please, Anthony.
The thing is, look, I've been using Inventor since the very beginning, and everything of ours and our staff works with Inventor. So we don't really want to move to Fusion. The thing is, what I can't understand is there's an app that actually does that, and it's called Bodybuilding, and you click on some geometry in your IPT and another, and it jumps to that. The only thing with that little app is that if you change the sizes of the initial sort of body that you were constraining to, it doesn't update. So in other words, what this little app is doing is actually taking measurements and then putting the second body next to the first body. So the fact that you can move a body in an IPT tells me that it is possible, right? So what I'm just saying is the constraints that you are using in assembly, why can't that constraints window work in a IPT? Because it will just be a very simple thing. I would think that you can, if I have a shaft, because what I'm trying to say, what happens is I derive a bearing, right, which is from a supplier, and now I've got a body or a part where this bearing needs to fit in. So I don't want to measure the hole. I want to put that bearing into that part and say derive or what you call it, post the outside diameter, and then just say extrude, and then I know that bearing fits in there, and with various other parts, so to speak. So the fact that you need to move bodies around like we do in an assembly, it is a vital thing if that is your method of working.
Yeah, and Anthony, okay, so this is about moving bodies, right? So
Correct.
I mean, have you ever tried the command called direct edit and also move bodies? Okay.
Yes, I use that command a lot, but that command, how I get around this somehow is I do a sketch and I measure the size. Say one body is 10 millimeters away from another body. So I do a sketch, and then I tell the direct edit to command or move with that, or I give it a dimension, and then it moves, but it doesn't update.
And wait a second. So I actually there is a workflow by snapping to geometry. Do you know that?
Yes, I use that also quite often.
Okay, so that should work just like a mate, right?
Yeah. But I mean, there is various other constraints. It doesn't cover all the parameters like constraints does. That's what. So it will be so vital if at some stage, I mean, I've put it onto the requests, new idea requests, and there has been a couple of people that said yes, they work that way and would like it, but I just brought it up now as well.
Yeah, I think what you're asking may not necessarily be like porting the assembly constraint to bodies, because that's just way. I mean, it's a way too costly, and then I'm not aware of the plan to do that. But what you're asking is there should be an easier way to transform and manipulate bodies, right? In a multi-solid body.
Yeah, and in the multi-body environment, yes, and constraints works well. We're all used to it. We've used it for years, so we know how it works. So if we can constrain number of parts in assemblies, the minute that works, we'll be able to constrain bodies in the IPT. Yeah. So it will be the same sort of workaround or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Then is that something on our radar?
No, not within at this time, unfortunately. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Not within the part model itself.
Okay. I hope and pray it happens one day.
Okay.
Yeah. Guys.
But but definitely enhancing the direct edit and move bodies. Yeah, it might be something worth considering. You know?
I jotted down the app, that bodybuilding, and I'll take a look at it to see what it does.
Yeah, please. It works almost like constraints. It's just that it doesn't update, because what it's actually doing that when I looked at the bodybuilding app, and then you see what it's done in the browser, it's done a move body and it's put in dimensions, but you didn't have to dimension it, it automatically snapped. But the only drawback about that app is then the initial body that you constrain to, if you change the sizes, obviously now it's got these written sizes in there, so it doesn't update the sizes, and that is the only drawback of it.
Yeah, it is because of it. It's actually is only retaining that distance, right? So it doesn't. It's not like mating to that face.
No.
So when the face is the source face is gone, the distance still there, right?
Still remains.
So, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Correct,
so
correct.
yeah. So I think they are calling Move Bodies API to do that. Yeah. Just like you say. I mean, it's totally legitimate. I mean, this workflow has been asked. Also, and then that shows actually the body transformation workflow within a multi-side body part needs to be further enhanced.
Thank you. If they enhance that the already existing move body or direct edit to such a way that we can use surfaces or the axis or something like that, or tangent and things like that, enhance it a bit, make it work like constraints, and I will love you forever.
Thank you. I love you too.
I do already.
Okay, so next question from Jap. This is about the drawing. You're more than welcome, Anthony. It's about the drawing standard. So in Netherlands, the ISO standard is pretty close, but the projection use is third angle, and then okay, so this is about where to set that option, right? I think currently it's set by drawing standard style. Yeah, and then so you have to set it that way.
Yeah, I know where to set it.
Yep. Yeah, but you are looking for an easier way to do that, right?
Well, what I find with us, but also with the companies that are working for us, everybody has to change it, because the entire nation has been used what we call American projection for at least the last century. So if there is a regional settings that knows that where I set that I'm in the Netherlands, third angle projection would be the way to go. Not only in Inventor, but in AutoCAD too.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's on our radar. I mean, Dan, have you heard about this request before?
No, not specifically. This again, yeah, and I know that we allow the flexibility to configure it, but to have a regional specific one, yeah, it's noted for sure. Nothing that has been previously that I can recall.
I think it would be as easy as a template painted in the Netherlands, which would basically be a standard ISO template, because you can set it in the template.
Yeah, we try to just throw out a couple of vanilla samples. When we change the templates, it's typically related to having a new function or capability that we've enhanced. For example, some of the drawing automation stuff that we did for recovering model-based dimensions to see the sheet formats. That was something where we upgraded all the templates, but nothing specific to regions. So it's a good ask for sure.
Okay, so the next question came from Steve. It's about non-CAD user collaboration within Inventor. The question seems to be specific to Dan. I mean, Dan, are you aware of the conversation?
Actually, Steve was asking the group.
Yeah.
Does collaboration with non-CAD users, are there, I think, right? What are others doing? Just asking that question to this audience. So if you guys are, you know, how are you collaborating with non-CAD users today? Just kind of curious.
Our main means is basically through PDFs. I mean,
Okay.
we've tried, you know, the design review and all the other tools, and quite frankly, the guys out in the field don't have access to laptops or any of that equipment. So PDFs becomes the standard go-to.
Anybody else?
Be nice to include the model, but doesn't always work that way.
I find the share view, which I use with my clients, that is very helpful because they don't need Inventor. They can go in and rotate the parts and zoom in. So for me, like I used to use PDFs, but now that I use share view, my clients prefer share view because they can sit around and they can rotate and look at the things that they want to from which angle they want to. So if you'd like to share with your clients, share view is a very helpful tool. The only one thing that I noticed about it is when I go in and I want to set lighting and backgrounds, it's fine for when I set it up, but the client doesn't get it like that. It just reverts to the standard sort of view. So one thing that could be added is that when we, because we obviously use this, we know what we're trying to show. So the lighting or sort of the way we're looking at it and things like that in share view, whatever settings we have there, please let it stick so that the client can see it the way we planned it. Thank you.
That's a good request. Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Anybody else?
Yeah, to be honest, I tend to use an app by one of the competitors called CAD Assistant by Open Cascade, which runs on both Android and iOS. So.
And it works pretty good for you?
Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Anybody else?
Gabriel raising his hand there, and then we're getting close to the hour.
Yeah, I've just I typed on chat so you can read from there, but basically we try to use PDFs, DWFs, and Autodesk Viewer more recently for small, quick content. And if something fails on PDF, DWF, usually the about the same size they'll fail. We do a MWD format file, and then recently we're trying to experiment with Inventor Viewer. I mean Inventor read only.
Great, thank you.
Okay, just real quick, the question from Michael regarding the multi-CPU in modeling kernel. Yeah, it actually Inventor is already partially multi-threaded, multi-core. So it's just but their certain operation is still linear, still single core. And what we are looking at, what's on our radar is leveraging GPU more, right? Dan and Chris, can you kind of confirm on that?
We're using the GPU much more for graphics, but for CPU intensive, there's definitely still work to do there to support multi-threading.
Yep. And then I think rendering, we are looking for utilizing more GPU. Yeah, that's on our radar.
For ray tracing.
Yeah.
Any possibilities of moving towards an SLI setup for video cards, just for helping with the renderings and processing?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah, me neither.
Yep,
Sorry.
No. Okay, and another one from Gillum regarding moving from 2014 to 2022. No, you don't have to migrate your files. I mean, for the files you are not actively editing, they can stay as 2014 format as you wish. Yeah, and then for any future releases, yes, you will be able to open any of the older files, but not the other way around. So if you still have 2014, you won't be able to open the 2022 files, for example. Gilliam, did I answer your question, or you have further questions, comments? Okay.
All right, I think we're getting close to the end here, guys. I'm gonna take over from you guys again and share my screen to wrap things up for today, if that's okay.
Sure.
We should do this again.
Definitely should do this one again. All right, so thank you everyone, including our guests, especially our guest speakers today. Thanks for all of you for attending. I hope this was as much fun for you as it was for me. We really would like to hear about how we did in this and whether or not you'd like to see more of these. Sean put a link in the chat for our survey for this session, so please take a few minutes to fill that out while I'm finishing up these last couple of slides here. If you have an idea for one of these sessions that you'd like to see or host for yourself, we'd love to hear from you. I'm going to put a link in the chat myself right now that is to our proposal form, but you can also reach out directly to Sean Hurley if you want to learn or discuss more about your ideas. His email is on the current slide, sean@autodesk.com, and here is the link for the proposal. So if you've got an idea and you want to host one of these, we'd love to hear your ideas. We also hope to see you around the community. Take a look at some of the ways in which you can connect with us and other users, learn about resources, or share your knowledge. I'm going to drop a whole bunch of links right now into this into the chat for all of these different resources, and I believe we're going to put these in the email as well, Sean. Yes. So here comes a whole bunch of them.
I'm trying to paste. My clipboard isn't working. I don't know why it's doing that with Zoom right now. I will send out the links and notice of the recording on the event page.
Here's a whole bunch. If it'll let me paste them.
I hope it lets you do it.
There we go. Yes. So there's a whole bunch of links here. If you just copy and paste the whole thing, you can always jump to them later and bookmark the ones that are of the most interest to you. But we really want to see you around the community and hear more from you. And we would love to do this type of thing again. So I think with that, we are all set. Thank you everybody for joining, and we'll hope to see you again next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Thank you.